Ukulele Saz, welcome back to another video. This time we are delving back into the circle of fifths and we are now on part 3. If you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, I do suggest you do so, especially if you're not so familiar with the circle of fifths, as this will give you a step-by-step introduction on how to use it, on how to apply it, and I'll also give you a couple of tips on how to deepen your understanding with the circle of fifths as well. If you enjoy this video, you can check out my Buy Me a Coffee page at Ukulele Saz. You can join the Tab Shack for just £3 a month and you'll get access to all of my lesson materials and resources, and there might be plenty more coming very soon this year, so watch this space. Today we're going to look at transposing and we're going to look at sharps and flats, so there's lots in this lesson today. First up, we have transposing from one key to another key. You might have heard people saying before, oh, I don't like playing in the key of C, I like to play in the key of G. Or you might be playing a song and you're with a different group and you might be playing it in the key of G and they might say, oh, we play this one in D. And you might think, how on earth am I supposed to do that? Well, this is something that the circle of fifths can really help you with. Because it's all patterns, it makes it nice and easy to follow. Let's take a look at the key of C major. The key of C major, we've got C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished. We don't need that for just now. As you can see, I've put those in order and we've numbered them 1, 2, 7. Now, let's have a little look at a chord progression underneath. So the chord progression we have is C, 2, 3, 4, 2, then D minor, and then G, and then C, and then F, and then G, and then C. Now, can you also see that I have numbered those chords from 1 to 7 to their corresponding number of the scale? This is the part that's super important, because whatever that number is, we are going to swap it for the number in the next key. Now, when we play in different keys, this essentially means that we are changing where the starting pitch is. So the key of C is here. If we were to start from D, everything would be slightly higher. E, even higher. F. So as you can hear, the different keys represent a different pitch, so a different level of high or low. And a lot of the time people will use a key depending on their singing voice, or sometimes depending on the instrument they're using, they might prefer to play in a certain key. On some instruments, playing in certain keys can be super difficult. For example, people that hate the E chord don't really like playing in the key of E because there's lots of bar chords in there. However, on the guitar is actually tuned to the key of E, so you can play in the key of E nice and easy. So it really just depends on your instrument, whether that be your actual instrument, your voice, and it depends on how you like to sing or how the group like to sing as well. Some keys are easier than others, some keys are harder than others. So the key of C, we've got, all good, quite comfortable with that. Now what if we transpose to the key of G major? Let's have a look at the key of G major now. So we have G, we've got A minor, we've got B minor, we've got C, we've got D, we've got E minor, and we've got F sharp diminished. How do we change the chords that we played in the key of C to the key of G? Well, we follow this process. We've already numbered the chords in the key of C. Now what we're going to do is write out our scale in the key of G. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So let's start nice and easy. Number 1 in the key of C is C. Number 1 in the key of G is G. So our first chord would be G. Our second chord that we were playing in the key of C is D minor, which is the second chord in the key. So now what is the second chord in the key of G major? It's A minor. And now we follow that same process the full way along. Our G chord, which is the fifth, that would become the D chord. Our F chord in the key of C, which is our fourth, that would become the C chord. And our fifth chord again would be D, and then back to the root note, the number 1, which would be G instead of C. So let's hear how that sounds. we've got G, G, A minor, D, G, C, D, and G. Now, so we can compare that nicely, let's play that in the key of C. You'll hear that the pattern of the chords follows the same course, same direction. The only thing that changes is how high or low it is. So now let's do it in C. And now in G. I think it's really interesting to hear it being played in one key and then being played in the next key, because you can hear that the pattern is the same, but it's just the high or low notes, it's the pitch that's different. So I hope you found that helpful. You can apply this to any single key in the whole of the circle of fifths, any key of music. So you start with your original key, let's say it's G this time, but let's say you want to change to the key of B flat. Our first chord is G, so our first chord in B flat would be B flat. The second chord that we need is the A minor, which is the second note, so that would work out as the C minor, and we follow that same progression. Now, if we take just the actual circle, you don't technically need to write out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because the position of where the chord is will always be the same. So for example, your number 1 is in the middle, your number 2 is to the bottom left. So if we look at the key of G, to the bottom left of G you've got A minor. So again, let's bring us back to B flat. If we want to play the number 2 in B flat, what's to the bottom left of B flat? C minor. We've got the fifth chord, so the fifth chord is to the right, always to the right of the main chord. So G, we've got D to the right. So to the right of B flat, we've got F. So you can also use it that way as well. Whichever way works for you. You can write it out, which is really good practice to get you to know which chord corresponds to which number in each key. Or you can use that visual aid constantly if that helps you a little bit better too. So I hope you found that helpful, and I hope this is something that you'll be able to start to apply. If you're playing a song in a group and you don't really like how you sing along with it, try and change the key. Change it to a key, try it and see if you notice a difference. Or you can just try it as a tool just to have a bit of fun with, just to challenge you a little bit. Maybe you play most of your songs in the key of C or G and you want to try and expand out of your comfort bubble a little bit and try something a little bit more difficult. You might try the key of A, you might try the key of E flat. It's entirely up to you. You can have so much fun with this and it will really sharpen your knowledge on which chords belong to each key. Okay, so now we've covered transposing. Next we're going to cover something slightly different, and this is going to delve into a little bit of musical alphabet knowledge. Now, we know that there are 7 notes in the musical alphabet, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And we also know that sharps and flats appear in there as well. Now a couple of the notes do not have any sharps or flats in between, so between E and F and between B and C there are no sharps and flats. What's really cool about the circle of fifths is that it also tells us in a nice order how many sharps and flats there are in each key. And again, we're starting from that key of C major where there are no sharps and flats. So at the top of the circle, that tells us we're in key of C and there are no sharps and flats. The general rule is that to the left of the circle, so as you can see F, B flat, E flat, A flat, can you notice how there are flat symbols around that side? That's because as you go around the left of the circle, we add 1 flat each time. The key of F has 1 flat, the key of B flat has 2 flats, the key of E flat has 3 flats, and so on. Now we do the same for the other side of the circle. So starting from the key of G major this time, which has 1 sharp. Now you can't see this on the diagram because it's the diminished chord. It's the F sharp diminished. The second one, which is the key of D, we have 2 sharps. The key of A, we have 3 sharps, and again that continues. Things do start to get a little bit tricky at the bottom of the circle, which is when we get to the key of F sharp or D sharp minor, and that's because there's a little bit of musical confusion where we actually maybe need to pretend there's a sharp, so we have to like pretend that there's an E sharp, and we also have to pretend that there's a C flat, and that's because there's a couple of other rules in music which are quite important. In every scale, you have to have every letter. What changes is the number of sharps and flats there are. You also will not get a combination of sharps and flats in the same key. If a key has flats in it, you stick with flats. If a key has sharps in it, you stick with sharps. That's why sometimes you'll maybe see, some people will say A sharp instead of B flat, but you can't have A sharp and A major or the A minor chord in the same scale. That doesn't work. Musically, it has to make sense. Yeah, the good thing in ukulele music is that we don't actually need to use those keys pretty much ever. Most ukulele players will not ever use them. So you don't really need to worry too much about that just now. The most important thing to know is the fact that round the left you've got your flats, now round the right you've got your sharps. Let's have a little look at the keys here so that you can see to the left of the circle and to the right of the circle. And you can also see how the sharps add on each time. Another really cool thing to notice is that the keys next to each other share almost all of the same notes apart from 1. So between the key of C and the key of F, the key of C and F share all of the same notes apart from the 1 flat that's in the key of F. In the key of C we've got B, in the key of F we've got B flat. The same goes for the right, so in the key of G it shares all of the same notes as C apart from C has F and G has F sharp. When we go from G to D, again we can see 1 note of a difference. D's also get F sharp, but in the key of D there's also a C sharp. So again, just that C sharp note is the difference. So it shows you which which keys are quite close together. And because of that, that means that they'll share a lot of the same notes and a lot of the same chords. So there is a lot of overlap. Now I understand this is a lot of information, especially with the sharps and flats. The main thing to know is just how it works. And again, in the ukulele, we will mostly play in C and F and in G, and that's because G, C, E and A belong to all of those keys. As soon as we start expanding out with that, we then don't have open strings to play on. So get familiar from C, F and G are your next ones, and then gradually work your way round the circle. That's a nice way to do it. I think it's a nice progressive way you can do it as well. And again, it always starts nice and easy from the key of C where there are no sharps and flats. So it's a lovely little foundation that you can start to build on. So I hope you found this helpful today. We've looked at transposing, how to shift from one key to another key. And we've also looked at sharps and flats and how many there are and how to calculate how many there are in each key as well. The good thing is that now that you're switched on to this, you'll start to notice these things, and hopefully that will spark your curiosity a little bit more too. And it will hopefully start to help deepen your knowledge and understanding of musical notes, of keys, of scales, and of which chords work well together in each key as well. If you've liked this video, give me a little comment below, let me know what's starting to sink in, let me know what you're enjoying about it. And as I said, if you also really like this video, subscribe to my channel, and you can also check out my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can get access to all of the lesson materials that go with this lesson for just £3 a month, as well as all of my other lessons and tutorials too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you the next time.